Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to The Average Fisherman. I got my backup spinning reel set up. In the meantime, I'm waiting for my new Abu to come in. But today, I wanted to show you guys something that I think that is often underutilized in the summertime as far as catching bass. And it works really well when the water is warm. Works all the way from spring until fall, and that is the floating worm. So this is a Zoom trick worm in merthiolate color, and I have this one on here because it's super easy to see. I think should be even easy to see on the camera when I throw it out. So why is it called a floating worm? Well, because if you don't have a hook or anything in it, it floats. Pretty simple. But the way I rig it up, I use a Palomar knot with 10-pound braid to a 4/0 round bend worm hook. And if you can see, I have the worm hook just below the skin right here, and I leave this little curve. Now there's a reason for that, because this curve kind of makes it do a slow dart when I pull it in like this, and that's really what attracts the fish. I've used this technique a lot, and I actually do use this color when I'm in blackwater bayou situations. But the idea is, it's kind of a cross between a Texas rig worm and a frog. So you can throw it out into heavy weeds and stuff like that, and it's mostly weedless. You know, if you pull it into a pocket, it'll slowly sink down and stuff like that. But for the most part, you throw it into non-brushy type stuff, and it comes through. Now, of course, you're going to get some weed coverage and stuff like this, but you know, it's minor. But the whole idea is that it's a slow presentation that you can use to effectively catch fish, and I do use it sometimes in the place of a frog, and it's really effective for me, especially like in bayous and stuff. I've never really used it out here much. I did use it last week when I posted that quick video where my rod broke. I was actually using a floating worm out here. But it's a good technique that I think doesn't get all the appreciation that it deserves, and I think it's often underutilized, frankly. The trick worm has been a staple bass getter around these parts for 50, 60 years, and I don't know why more people don't use it, to be honest. It's a really good technique to use to catch fish. Maybe not in this color, but again, I wanted you guys to see it. So basically what you do is you throw it out and you kind of let it slowly sink. You give it a couple taps, you pull it back up to the surface, and you let it slowly sink again. I don't know if you guys are picking that up on camera with this neon color, but that's exactly how it works. And you can see I'm pulling it along the top. And most of the time you catch a good aggressive bass who's hungry, and you can watch him come and chase this lure. Like in bayous and stuff like that, I really like this bright color. I will skip it underneath overhangs and stuff like that, like, you know, lay downs and things like that nature, and it has been a really big producer for me in those circumstances. Out here at the pond, I'm just not sure that this color is the best. But I wanted you guys to be able to see it really well. So I'm throwing it out onto a grass mat, pop it into the clear water a little bit, let it slowly sink a little bit, and then rinse and repeat. You know, just kind of dragging it along these grass mats and letting it kind of sink in between them a little bit. And that's usually a bass getter. I'm going to change colors here in a few minutes to try to actually catch a fish. But I wanted you guys to see this, so I'm using this bright color. So if you see this pocket here, I'm going to throw right into this pocket, and I'm going to try to get, wrapped around my rod, and I'm going to try to get a bite here. What I would do is throw for the far side and kind of work it in through the weeds. There we go. Kind of pull it in through the weeds and kind of let it shimmy in between, and I give it like little shakes to kind of make it dart a little bit, and that's usually when you'll get the hit. You know, most of the hits on these things come when you're giving it just a little twitch or on the pause. I'd say probably 80% are under those circumstances. On the fall, you're going to get a couple hits here and there, but mostly it's right after you've twisted it and it's kind of sitting still. They'll come right up through the weeds and grab this thing. Now, if you're like me, it's really hard to be disciplined with something like this, because when you get a big bass blow up on these things, it's almost like instant snap reaction to set the hook, you know, and you really can't do that. You know, it takes, and I miss so many fish doing this too. You have to really work, you know, to really make yourself wait that 1/1002 and then set the hook, you know. They're going to be dredging this lake in the next month. As y'all can see, it's pretty much almost totally covered with algae and stuff. And there's only really a few pockets left where there's more or less openish water. And out here is where I would really like to get, because I can see fish swimming back there, but it's too far for me to hit with this setup being weightless, you know, and stuff like that. If I had a, you know, an 1/8 ounce weight on it or something, I might be able to hit it, but yeah, it's just a little too far of this light presentation. But anyway, I'll show you guys again. Throw it out, let it sit a second, give it a couple twitches, pull it into an open area, let it sink a little bit. I keep it under about 4 inches of water, you know, so anywhere from the surface to about 4 inches down seems to be like the best for these floating worms as far as my experience goes. But anyway, really good technique. I think super highly effective under certain circumstances, but really underutilized. Yeah, see, that's my max distance cast. Just trying to hit that secondary open spot because I see a lot of fish in there. But at this pond or this lake, they don't really seem to like bright colors too much. It's more of they go for more of the natural colored stuff. Yeah, see, that's about as far as I can make it. But a really effective bait in the summertime, especially if you're hunting bayous and stuff like that, and you find a little shady overhang or something like that. Man, throw one of these in there. Man, I can see the bass hitting out here. That's bass hitting on brim and stuff, but they're just out of range. But anyway, as I was saying, really effective lure, really effective technique, and often underutilized with the Zoom trick worm. Yeah, I'm about 10 yards short of where I really want it. Alright, well, now that I've taken up a long clip to show you guys how it's used, I'm going to swap colors, move spots so I can be in the shade because it's hot as hell out here, and actually see if I can hook one. Let's go. Okay, so I swapped over to what has generally been a good color here for me. Holy cow, that scared me. Y'all saw that? A bunch of wood duck chicks and the mom just took off on the bank here, scared the hell out of me. But this is not going to be a long video because, again, I wanted to show you guys how the floating worm is used, not necessarily come out and catch a bunch of fish with it. For one, I'm out here at exactly the wrong time of day, which is the hottest part of the day, and it is hot, and I think it's 94 degrees right now. So even standing here in the shade, I'm sweating bullets. But it's a very effective technique if you utilize it properly. You know, like I said, the time I use it the most is in the heat of the summertime, but I usually troll along in my kayak along the bayous and will skip it underneath laydowns and stuff like that, and that's where it's always been the most effective for me. But even here, you know, I've caught quite a few fish on it. In fact, that was what made me mad last Friday, is I was using a floating worm in a different color, and it was a little smaller. I think it was a 2-inch smaller worm. And I was catching, they weren't big fish, but they were in the pound to pound and a half range, somewhere around in there. And I was catching them left and right when my rod broke. But hey, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. So you see I'm throwing it right into the back of these areas. There went a fish, he came over to see what it was. Give him 1/1002, and it set the hook, and there he is. You guys saw it right there. I saw the wake of him coming over to see what it was. I felt the tap, and then it was like, you have to force yourself to wait, man. You know, that 1/1002 before you set the hook to make sure they actually get it in their mouths. But not a bad little fish. It was certainly fun to catch. Ooh. Don't want to get hooked here. Oh, he's slinging grass all over my glasses. All right. Let's get him unhooked here. There you go. But that's how it's done with the floating worm. All right. We'll go ahead and try to catch one more. But just to show you guys that that's how it's done, that 1/1002 thing is really a necessity when using a floating worm like this. Just showed it to you guys on video. It hit the water. I gave it a couple twitches. I saw the wake where he came from the right edge of those weeds over to look. I gave it another slight twitch. I felt the light tick on the line. They usually just grab it by the front or the back and don't really get the hook. Then I made myself wait. So that's why you heard me counting, and I do it exactly the same way. 1/1002, and then set the hook. Because if you don't, more often times than not, they don't have the hook yet. So you got to give them that time to grab the hook on these things. So I'm going to re-rig this up. Just like this. And again, always put a little bend in it to make it have that erratic action. Just like that. And throw it back out. Got another. Same deal. A little smaller. This is about a 3 or 4 ouncer. I tell you what though, I don't care how big or small they are. Catching fish is just fun, guys. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What a brute, huh? I didn't catch the initial strike on video, but it's the same deal. Feel the tap, count 1/1002, and set the hook. It's all going to be small fish here because it's up super shallow, and I don't care. Like I said, I knew that. This is more of a how-to video than a let's watch the average fisherman catch a bunch of big fish. But you know, I think it's important that I show you guys exactly how I'm using some of these lures sometimes to catch these fish, so you guys can go out and do the same on your own. You know, it's one thing to show people, you know, oh look, I can go catch a bunch of fish. But it's a totally different thing to go out and show people how to do it for themselves, you know. And that's more or less what I want. I want to get people not only be entertained by the videos that I put out, but I also want to show people how to go out and catch fish and entertain themselves, you know. Always be looking, because you'll see if that lure is higher in the water column, like you're keeping it higher up, you'll see a fish come over and inspect it, and usually if they're going at a good rate of speed, they're not coming to say hello, you know, they're coming over to grab that thing. So be waiting for that tick, and try try to discipline yourself When you feel the tick, give it a 2 count, then set. You know, I've lost an awful lot of fish because I was super excited and just set the hook way too early. You know, and they just had the end of the worm, and I completely missed what would have been a really good catch because of that. Done it before, I'm sure it'll happen again. But anyway, this is the basics of the floating worm. You know, really good effective technique in the hot water, in the hot weather. It allows you to slow down a little more. It's if you don't like the Ned rig, this is a good alternative. I know a lot of guys, you know, in the summertime you think downsizing your lure, the fish are lethargic, so everybody thinks automatically Ned rig, and there are people who do not like to fish the Ned rig. So this is a viable alternative to the Ned rig right here. The Zoom trick worm, floating worm, and it works very well. So, hope you guys are staying safe in this hot weather. Don't forget to stay hydrated. Lots and lots of sunblock. Go out, catch some fish, and tight lines, my friends.